Then we smashing niggas, boy. I'm all big trouble, roll out a pill sound, and then I slip up. We don't get no fucks. Trying to get my dick sucked on the
fuck about no sex, bitch, I just only want your nigga. Get shit smoked out the gate, tell that pussy nigga, yeah. I told that bitch I won't bang, I know that pussy nigga scared.
After that scenario happened, I agree with Stephen A. This is going to be a 20-25 game suspension. It's unfortunate also for the organization because now it puts a damper going into next season. How well can you play if you're going to miss Ja Morant for so many games? But also, I gotta also say this. He is 23. He just finished his 4th year in the league. And I'm personally just glad that social media didn't exist when I was in college or when I was in the league, because like I said before, I put myself in a lot of questionable positions and made a lot of poor decisions like we see him making right now. So I'm not gonna talk about it like it's the end for him. I think there's still a future for him to still reclaim his decision making and put himself in position to not only be a role model, a parent, and for Ja.
On ABC, Stephen A. Smith, Jalen Rose, I'm Mike Greenberg. Michael Wilbon with us as well. We will continue to count it down to our Game 7 today. But in case you are not aware of the overwhelming story from the NBA, deleted shows Morant riding in the front seat of a car, holding what appears to be a gun in his left hand. It is not clear when that video was taken. This is the statement the Grizzlies released this morning. You see it there. We are aware of the social media video involving Ja Morant. He is suspended from all team activities pending league review. We have no further comment at this time. Adrian Wojnarowski earlier this morning shared further information, including the possibility that Morant could be facing a lengthy suspension from the NBA after an investigation has been completed. We thought it appropriate that everybody would get to react to this once today. Stephen A., I will start with you.
It's really hard to put this into words, but I'm going to try. As you know, I'm a Knicks fan, and we've talked about R.J. Barrett. Between Zion Williamson's body and Ja Morant's stupidity, R.J. Barrett might end up being the best pick. You know, when you look at some of the things that has transpired, Ja Morant has already been suspended for 8 games, cost himself forfeited over $600,000. You know what the biggest issue here is? It's self-inflicted. It was his Instagram post that exposed the initial situation with him holding a gun that got him suspended. Now, with this latest video, it's somebody that he's with deciding to go on Instagram Live. This is not TMZ or somebody finding out something and digging it from. It's self-inflicted. And I'm just imagining, because I remember speaking to Draymond Green on this podcast earlier this year, and one of the things he raved about when he talked about Ja Morant, he said Ja Morant is one of the most intelligent players in the game and one of the most intelligent athletes you will ever find. So if we want to eradicate the word stupidity, then we have to go to something deeper. There's got to be a problem here. Now, whether it's with the company you keep or other things that you're doing that lead to you making these foolish, idiotic decisions, there is no question there's a problem somewhere. There's a problem somewhere. And ultimately, it comes back to Ja Morant because he is not a child. He is a young man. He knows better in regard. He's the one with a young child. He's the one with a family. He's the one on the basketball court. He's the one that got to the extension kicking in this upcoming next year that starts, that could begin a 5-year, potentially $231 million contract. He's the one with a signature shoe with Nike. He's the one with the Powerade contract. You got all of this stuff going on and everything's in jeopardy, and yet it's self-inflicted. To me, obviously, the NBA is likely going to step in. They're not going to leave it just up to the Memphis Grizzlies. They've got to make a statement here to protect their brand. I expect a double-digit game suspension, a lengthy suspension for Ja Morant to begin next season, and there isn't a single damn one of us that can say he doesn't deserve it based on this nonsense.
I'll remind everyone that after the previous incident, Jalen Rose had the opportunity to sit down with Ja Morant in the first interview that Morant did after meeting with the commissioner and all the rest of that. And so with that perspective in mind and the fact that you have had a chance to talk to him, Jalen, what were your thoughts when you saw that video now?
It's really unfortunate. And the one thing we learn is,
and a lot in the NBA for decades, And what he said to me just now was that until Ja surrounds himself with different people who have that sense of responsibility and discipline, this is going to be the norm. And so when I hear Jalen say that this is not the end, it doesn't have to be. But this is up to Ja. This is up to him. He's old enough now he is not the normal 23 or 24-year-old. He's not, because he's got all these things that Stephen A. outlined. There are people who could be around him who are going to have to help lead him out of this. I mean, we hear about 4 or 5 days or 8 days or whatever in some facility in Florida. That's a joke. That's PR. And so you can try to PR your way out of this through other social media forms and all of that. The question is he going to do the work that is required of himself to get out of this and for this not to be the end? Because what's going to happen now? Nike going to pull that shoe? Is Powerade going to pull that drink? I know in my house, I told Matthew, you can't have the shoe. I'm not buying that shoe. You're not buying that shoe. Our money as a family is not going toward that. And so I'm not the only one who's going to feel that way. And by the way, I am fascinated with Ja Morant. Ja Morant, he's so smart. We talk about intelligence. You listen to Ja Morant post-game, I mean, the engagement level and the intellect are unmistakable. But yet, this whole fake gangster theme that I thought we were past as a culture some years ago, I guess he's not past it, he and his. And it's just, it's sad. It's sad. It saddens me that this kid cannot get through this stage and see his way through a brighter time. And like Jalen, I'm hopeful it's going to happen. But who's going to help lead him?
Well,
who's going to help get him there?
Wilbon, let me chime in, bro. I got to stop, y'all. Enough's enough. Jalen, to you first. My brother, I need you to give yourself a lot of credit. Yes, you've made mistakes in your life, but you didn't know, you weren't forewarned. You lived your life, you made the mistakes, and then ultimately you corrected them, whatever those mistakes may be. Ja Morant was warned. Ja Morant was given a pass. Months ago, they let you know 8-game suspensions. Months ago, they let you know $600,000. Months ago, you put your team in jeopardy, the franchise in jeopardy, your future endorsement and opportunities in jeopardy. Months ago, not years ago, months ago. And the NBA called you up to the league office the day you spoke to him. You sat down with Adam Silver, and he said, yo, what you doing here? Let's make sure we don't do this again. And here we are in the off season, and you're doing that. And here's the crime with all of this. Because Wilbon, I'm gonna bring this up. Understand right now, we the villains. You the villain, Jalen. You the villain, Wilbon. I'm the villain. Why? Because we're sitting up there and we're saying, excuse me, be careful. You got a whole future. Your future is yours. The world is yours, man. We're looking out for brothers. We're trying to tell them, listen, watch it. The power of choice is a very, very powerful thing. Make sure you choose carefully who you have around you, who's going to safeguard you, who's going to help you protect you by making sure you avoid the things that you need to avoid. And by us looking out and trying to help out, we're villainized because we are willing to tell you the truth. That's the world he's living in. That's the world a lot of these guys are living in. Because God forbid that somebody tells you the truth so you can shield yourself so you can avoid the kind of things that'll find us on national television talking about you in this way. Second gun issue? Why are you walking around with a gun in broad daylight? What kind of life are you living? Who are you hanging around? What are you subjecting yourself to that you got to worry about what the hell is going on in your life? These are legitimate questions to be asked. It doesn't make us the villain. We're trying to look out. He just doesn't want to listen. And I find it a bit more than coincidental that the not listening part has kicked in after you got 5 years, potentially $231 million guaranteed. When you were looking for the bag, we didn't hear about this. Once you got it, now